happens when you fail at work? Is it possible to recover from that? You know what? We're all human. We all fail. In fact, think about a toddler learning to walk. They stand up, they take a step or two, they fall down, they roll around a little bit, they get back up and they keep going. They do it again and they keep doing it again until they figure it out. And yet as adults, we say, oh wait, no, we can't fail. We have to get it all right. And I see that even more in women, particularly women in STEM, who feel like they have to be perfect all the time. I know I was that way. I couldn't show that I didn't know. I couldn't make mistakes. And believe me, I made mistakes. So how do you recover from that? Let's talk about it. Hi, it's Carol Doherty. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about how you recover from mistakes. Now, there's been a couple of times in my career where I made big mistakes. In my first job, I wrote out the batch formula for the product that we did. And one of the batches I did, I made a mistake. I misread something when I was figuring things out, and the batch was bad. Now, it was within the known tolerances, so it got approved, but that could have been a really costly mistake. And I really beat myself up over it. My boss, fortunately, had my back. And since it was within known tolerances, it worked out okay. But that was terrifying. And later in my career, we were doing something, myself and another person were figuring out some piping, and we thought it went, point A, and it actually went to point B. And so when we dumped a tank, it overwhelmed a treatment facility, and we ran into an issue that then had to be reported. That one, again, could have been a really costly mistake. Fortunately, our factory was really good. We self-reported. Everything was fine. There was no penalty for the mistake, but then we had to scramble to figure out how do we not release any more and deal with what we had that was higher in concentration than we thought. These were huge issues. These were real legitimate mistakes. And you know what? Both of them hurt me in the moment, particularly the first one. It hurt me in the moment, but over time, because of how I handled it, they didn't end up hurting me. So let's talk about how I overcame that and the tips I want you to learn and to apply if you screw up at work. It will happen. We're learning, we're growing. When you learn new things, you make mistakes. It's part of learning. So instead of getting hung up on failure being a sign that you don't belong where you are, you're a complete idiot, you can't do anything right, treat it as a learning opportunity. So that's kind of where I want you to get your mindset. This is something I can learn from. And when you can learn from what goes wrong, you can actually overcome any failure, and it may actually help you. So let's talk about this. First, assess the failure. The two I shared with you were big deals. There were a lot more small ones. Because I was learning stuff. I changed industries. I went, I was fresh out of college, learning stuff I didn't know. So you're learning, you make mistakes. Change companies, change industries. You're learning, you make mistakes. So some of them were small, but I beat myself up over them. There was one instance where my boss got into it with one of the production supervisors, and I walked into it after the fact and felt like I walked into a buzzsaw, and I beat myself up over that. That wasn't my error. I paid a price for that one, but I wasn't the person who made the mistake. It was actually my boss. But so assess the failure. Is it really something that has a big impact on the organization, on the business? Is there cost? Is there money? Is there quality issues? Those are bigger deals, and you really need to pay attention to those. if you call somebody by the wrong name. Been there, done that in a training class. Really kind of embarrassing. But fortunately, had a great sense of humor over it and it was fine. But I beat myself up over it. So assess the failure. Is it something you're making more of than somebody else? All right. So we make mountains out of molehills. Make sure you're assessing it to the right level. Then second, get real about your role in it. Okay? When the first mistake in my first job, it was all me. It was my error. The second one, it was kind of a team error. There were two of us. We worked and we walked through it. But it was a legitimate, understandable error. Sometimes we as women will take on a fault and take the blame even when it wasn't us. I've seen this. I haven't really ever done it myself, but I've seen women, I've talked to clients who are willing to say, well, yeah, that was my mistake. No, it wasn't. It was theirs. Now, if you're the team lead, the buck stops with you, or you're a manager, the buck stops with you. You need to take on your team's mistakes, but you also need to address it with them. You can't own it and never let it go. If you're a leader and there's a mistake made on your team, you have to take the credit or the blame for it, and you need to address it with wherever it came from. So get real about what was the cause of the failure. Where did it come from? What is your role? And then the third one is own your mistakes. If you make a mistake, own it. The one where we had the discharge problem, we walked into the brainstorming meeting to figure out, okay, what do we do to recover? I walked in and said, here's what I did wrong. Here's what I'm going to do next time. And here's what I think we can do now. That could have been a huge career damaging situation. It gained me credibility. It gained me respect because I walked in and said, here's what happened. Here's the mistake I made. Here's what I'm going to do next time. And here's what I think we can do to fix it and to keep it from getting worse. And you know what? People really respected that. So own your mistake. When you start playing the blame game, he did that and he did that and they did, yeah, that just shows that you're immature, you're pushing the blame off, and you don't want to take responsibility for your actions. Taking responsibility for your actions and owning your mistakes is going to set you apart because so many people won't do it. So own your mistakes. And then fourth, be clear on the lesson you learned and what you're going to do differently. When I said, here's what I did wrong, here's what I'm going to do differently the next time, people stopped and paid attention because it showed I learned. Even back in that first job, when I got the results back, I realized what the error was. And I went into my boss and said, Mac, here's what happened. Here's what I did. Here's how it occurred. Here's what I'm going to do next time. And you know what? He picked up the phone, called his boss and said, I made a mistake. He took it on himself. He was my boss. He said, we have an issue. Here's what I did wrong. And so he respected me because I said, here's the mistake I made and here's what I'm going to do differently. Showing that you can learn shows that you're open-minded. You accept you're not perfect and you're willing to learn and grow. That's huge. And that's how you overcome failure, is by learning from it. So if you can assess the magnitude of the failure, get real about what your role is and own what you did, and then be clear on how you're going to do things differently in the future, what you've learned from it, you will make a big difference. You're going to go a long ways to overcoming any failures and actually it can help your career. If you found this valuable, please comment, like, share, and subscribe below. You can join me for more tips on how to thrive in your STEM career as a woman on Instagram at Carol S. Doherty. Have a great day.